Hey everybody, two Alpha Gals here. I'm Debbie Nichols.
And I'm Candace Mathis, and you're listening to In the Tall Grass, where we're sharing stories of reinvention, resilience, and rediscovering joy.
Whether it's facing Alpha Gal syndrome or any other redefining chapter of life, we all have to learn how to navigate the journey through the tall grass. So here we go.
Hey, everybody. So as you know, Debbie and I traveled down to Orlando, Florida a couple of weeks ago to the Fair Summit. And we've been talking a lot about our road trip and how much fun we had. And we thought it might be a great topic to dive into with everyone because we know how overwhelming and scary it can be at the thought of travel, especially when you're dealing with alpha-gal or food allergies. So Debbie, what was like your favorite moment of our trip, I guess?
Oh my gosh, that would actually be hard to narrow down, which is funny because a couple years ago, I don't think we could picture ourselves having been able to do this. And yet here we were, like setting out on a full-fledged adventure.
Which is because from here it said that it was a 9.5 hour drive. I'm not quite sure. We flew last year. We thought, well, maybe we'll be able to bring more things with us. We can pack a cooler. But our 9.5 hour trip turned into 12.5 hours?
Something like that. But we can't blame maps because that was entirely our fault.
Yes.
But it was worth it. It was worth it. As you said, we flew last year. But for us, where we live, it's a little tricky to fly. Typically we can fly out of our little Roanoke airport, but you can't really take anything with you.
Right.
And then it's a couple-hour drive to get to any other big airport where the airfare is actually affordable. And I shouldn't say that, actually. There are some affordable airfares out of Roanoke. But again, you can't take anything with you. So we decided we'd drive. I think the trip itself actually ended up being one of my favorite things. There was lots of good food, lots of good meeting people and meeting people we know, seeing people we know, and talking about alpha-gal syndrome. But I loved the drive itself because we get into the nuttiest topics of conversation. In the past, it has been, can I even say this?
Yes. Let's just unveil all of our secrets, good or bad.
So on previous road trips, none of which have been this long, of course, we have done a deep dive into the life and children of Nick Cannon.
Which we may or may not have made a map because it's so incredibly hard to follow.
It is very hard to follow, which is why maybe we have revisited it a couple of times, embarrassingly. But it's funny to go back and forth with a friend and talk about these things. And when you have just nothing but time, and that's what I felt like we had a little bit on this trip. But we did not go into Nick Cannon, although we did discover that Elon Musk has almost as many children, if not as many, didn't we?
Yes, we did. I forgot about that. Well, because we saw the rocket. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Okay. So maybe we need to go in like order of timeline.
Mm-hmm. Let's do that. Do that. Let's start with before we actually left, because there was something that we did together that was very fun prior to actually departing.
Right. So, if you're a woman or if you love doing your nails, whatever, one of the things I used to do before I would go on a big trip, which I think you did too, Debbie, was we would go get our nails done. Mm-hmm. And that's been very challenging. I also have chemical sensitivities due to alpha-gal. So it's hard for me to be around all of the smells and fumes in a nail salon. So you found this amazing product called Dashing Divas. And it is an at-home kit that is a glazed. What is it called?
Semi-cured glaze.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah. So they go on with a little UV light. They're like super affordable. They look really good and they last, but they look like gel nails, like these semi-cured ones. And I love them. And my nails actually grow long with them. So we did them before we left. We did them together. We got together and did them on my kitchen counter.
Yeah.
It was really fun. And we had really pretty nails.
It makes you just feel a little more polished and ready for an event with people and shaking hands. And I don't
Exactly.
ever get to do my nails. So this was a really great find. So that was kind of the kickoff. And
That's
then
right.
we decided on what food we were going to bring, and we mapped out our lunch. Actually, we mapped out our breakfast lunch plans.
It was going to be lunch. It turned into breakfast because of our
Right.
time. It was worth it though.
Yeah. So we get to drive from Virginia through Charlotte, North Carolina on our way to Florida. And so, as you've probably seen or heard, one of our favorite safe spots to eat is called the Living Kitchen in Charlotte. Highly, highly recommend. So we got there right around the time they opened. And so we had breakfast. They have great coffee. And then we also ordered something to go for lunch.
We did. Well, and see, that's actually a great point to talk about for a minute, because we didn't know where we were going to find a great vegan, gluten-free meal on our way between Charlotte and Florida. And so we had found some gluten-free restaurants, we found some vegan restaurants, but it's hard to find one that offers both. And so we knew how much we liked the food from Living Kitchen. So we just ordered a little bit to go. And we had our cooler already, right? So
Right. Yeah. Well, and it's, it just shows like you do have to do a little bit of planning ahead of time so that you're covered, so that we weren't caught in the middle of nowhere in South Carolina with no food, because that would be horrible. So we got our food to go, and then we popped over to Sephora.
Well, and that was so fun. And this is worth noting too, because I think 2 years ago, you wouldn't have stepped foot inside Sephora because the various perfumes in the air and things, I think would have taken you down. Like
big time.
you would have gone down.
Yes.
But I don't remember what it was that, you were looking for concealer. Is that what it was? And
well, you needed mascara.
Yeah. So we went in and ended up we met a lovely woman there who helped us go through some safe, clean, vegan makeup and helped us try some new products that we hadn't. We both found some awesome new products. Actually, I'm wearing it now, and every time I put it on, I'm like, oh, I love this so much. It's like forget what it's called. It's by Ilia. It's like a subtle color. Yeah, you can put it on your cheeks and on your lips too, and just really subtle and pretty. I like it.
I love it too.
And I got my mascara, and you got your concealer and some other things. But it was just really neat to feel sort of free in the wind. Do you know what I mean? Like we weren't held back the way that we have been in the past.
Right.
We certainly weren't constrained to our predetermined time schedule.
No, not at all. And that was okay. We made it there in a good amount of time.
We did make it there. We made it there. I mean, if we hadn't stopped at Sephora, we wouldn't have seen the rocket that went out of, I think it's Kennedy Space Center, right? Yeah. Well, we saw the Falcon, I think the Falcon 9 or something like that, take off. And it was so funny because I was like, oh my gosh, Candace, look at it. How this looks like a rocket. Because it was like blazing orange flying through the sky. And so thank you, Google, for not only your information on Nick Cannon, but also on the rocket launch, because we were able to discover that we had just accidentally seen a rocket launch.
It was so cool. I had never seen that before. It was very cool. And it was right at dusk.
Mm-hmm.
It was really cool. We tried to take pictures. That didn't work very well.
Yeah, the pictures didn't come out great, but
okay.
We got great mental pictures.
Yes. And unexpected surprises.
That's right. And I'd like to add too, though, like it wasn't just all about Nick Cannon. Because we did in the process, we actually did some investigating into the history of Israel and Gaza and teaching each other, what we knew and learning together about the history there. It was quite a well-rounded trip, wouldn't you say?
Yes, we had a lot of education and just a tiny bit of trash. So I would say that we were very well-rounded, but you kind of have to be when you're in the car for 12 hours, I think. So we did a lot. I would say even more so than the deep dive into Nick Cannon or Elon Musk. We researched restaurants for how long?
Hours.
Yeah. Which is always fun.
And it's good to know what places different cities offer, we did learn that there are not a whole lot of options of places that we could just walk in and order anything. There are lots of places we could walk in and have one or two choices, but on a road trip, you're going to want to plan that in advance. Call restaurants ahead of time, make sure they're going to be safe, make sure you're going to have a place to sit if you're fume reactive. But we had our snacks with us. We had our carry out from Living Kitchen.
Yep.
And we made it to Orlando in time to get vegan gluten-free pizza.
Yeah, absolutely. So we went to Winter Park. There's a great little collective there that has some great options. We had eaten there last year. And so we got pizza and headed over to the resort, and we ran into Pam, who we met last year, who was one of the first people that she knew in California. I don't even know if she's met anyone since then, but we ran into her and Elise in the lobby, which was really great. So we geared up for the first day at fair, and we were excited to learn that they had shared FAIR, which is the Food Allergy Research and Education Organization. They actually shared about alpha-gal in their kind of opening remarks the evening before. So that was really amazing to see this kind of advancement, if you will.
It was a step forward from last year, which was really neat in a lot of ways, right? Like the hearing more about alpha-gal, hearing that people were talking about alpha-gal. It came up, I guess, in the trivia as well on Friday night, which we didn't make it for.
Well, we were too busy looking at the rocket. I don't know.
But then also like coming and seeing friends now, I feel like that was really beautiful. It was really heartwarming to walk into a place and see people that we had met the previous year and know that we're a part of that community all together. And so it was a great start to the conference. And then the next morning, oh my gosh, there's a lot about the next morning because we got to meet Beth Carrison for the first time. We've met her virtually before. She's part of Tick-Borne Conditions United with Jennifer Platt. And so that was a really beautiful moment to meet someone that we have had a lot of contact with, but not a hug. So that was nice. And we got to share breakfast with them at the resort, which was provided. And they had safe and delicious gluten-free vegan pancakes.
Yes.
So that were there provided by Partake, and they were great. It was a beautiful start, and on that veranda in the sunny Florida morning, it was a great launch to the fair.
It's so nice to just step into a space and everything's clearly labeled. It's been double checked by Chef Joel. So you just don't have to worry for a day and a half during the conference that there's going to be any major issues. They've done a phenomenal job of taking alpha-gal into consideration as well, because as you know, most allergy safe food is going to more than likely have a meat component, right? They're going to have beef or something to that nature, but they've cooked all of our food separate and away from anything that could be a potential issue. But there's no dairy, there are no other mammalian-based products. So it's been really neat to see kind of that evolution over the past year as well. And their food was so amazing. It's just incredible how they can turn, I don't even know that they did a Dr. Prager's burger, I believe, like a veggie burger. They made it into kind of this meatloafy thing, which I know sounds a little strange, but it was really good. They had like this delicious gravy. Oh, it was really, really good.
And, it was so cool because Chef Joel, when we saw him prior to the actual meal, he approached us and was like, hey, gals, I've got food put aside for you just in case. But we didn't even need that food that had been set aside for us because he had taken everything into consideration, right? Even on the buffet, which had beef on it, he had made sure that the chicken and that vegan meatloaf were separate from it so that there was not going to be any cross-contamination with serving dishes, or we didn't even have to go near the beef because, we didn't even have to worry about being exposed to fumes because our stuff was far enough away from it. It was just a lot of feeling like people were thoughtful, right? Because I feel like we don't get that a whole lot. People try to be, I think. I really believe that people try to be most of the time, but
Right.
here it took away an element of worry,
Yeah.
which maybe emboldened us to go out to dinner.
Oh, yeah. We talk about this a lot behind the scenes. I mean, we talk about it a lot everywhere, really. But I would say, looking back to 2019, when we were both newly diagnosed and we still weren't feeling well, and we were really, really, really reactive, to now, I mean, I would not have even risked going to certain places, but being prepared, it's like we knew exactly what we needed to do if things happen. And we went to a Thai restaurant. We've had really great success at Thai restaurants. We went to one when we were in Chapel Hill a few months ago. And this one specifically noted that they were vegan or had vegan options.
They had a whole vegan menu.
Right.
So we don't know what it was, but something got us. Because
it was weird because it got us really fast.
It did. And we weren't anywhere near the kitchen. And I was eating and I could feel my face like catching on fire.
Oh, yeah. You could see your...
And that's like my first, and I could feel it. And then I looked at Candace and she looks at me, she goes, "You feeling okay?" I was like, I looked at her, she's turning red. And I was like, "You feeling okay?" You know what though? Neither of us freaked out. Like, we took our medications that we had, we paid our bill, and we left the restaurant and we recovered. And we went to the little happy hour thing that they had at the hotel. And we were both fine. It really was okay. And that's a lesson too, that it's taken time to get there. Like you were saying, I can't imagine having put ourselves at risk. And we don't try to intentionally put ourselves at risk. No. We just want to know where our threshold is and be able to experience normal everyday things. And I think that was our hope in going out. And we've had a lot of success with that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, this wasn't the best case scenario, but we dealt with it and we were fine and we moved on. We knew we were close to a hospital. So if the worst case scenario happened, we would be okay. We both had our EpiPens and neither of us had to use them.
Yes.
We knew we were surrounded by people who did know how to use them.
Right. So, and we were fine.
Yeah, it turned out it was really okay, which I think is a good lesson too. It's a good piece of this story.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Don't, if you're at that point where you're like wanting to kind of dip your toe into trying something new, as long as you have your support system in place, your toolkit in place, I would say take that little step and try it. I think it is important for your mental health, for all of the things, for you to embark on that side of this journey a little bit too. And, I'll also say when we were on our way home, we left that next morning because we had such a long drive and we knew how easily it was for us to get sidetracked. But we got caught in traffic and I was like, we're taking the exit. And we took it and we found the most amazing vegan restaurant. I still dream about that food.
I do too. The empanadas. Oh my gosh. It was so good. And it was really a fluke. There was an accident, I think, on the highway. And so we're like, maybe there's something right here.
I think we were still in Orlando, actually.
Were we?
I think so. I think we ended up in downtown Orlando on like the art side.
This restaurant was amazing. It was like super affordable. It was counter service. I guess they brought our stuff. We sat outside and it was delicious. And it was just really a fluke. After all of that, like Googling and searching the day before, we just sort of stumbled on this place. Do you remember what it was called?
Yeah, it was called Earthy Picks. So it's Colombian food and oh my goodness. Highly recommend everyone go look it up. If you're traveling to Orlando, you have got to go there.
We had not even left.
No, we hadn't. We had to drive back just a little bit, I think, but not far, like just a couple miles.
Yeah, I think
it was the best decision.
Yeah, the whole weekend, maybe.
Yes.
It was good. Perhaps a little better than our Googling on the way home, in which we did a deep dive into the Murdoch case, which was fascinating because Candace, I guess, is already sort of an expert, having watched everything available out there to watch on it. Yeah, and it is so intriguing and it totally caught our attention. And so we listened to a couple podcasts and we got to discuss it ourselves. And that got us like I mean, we did other things also, but a lot of that got us all the way to Flower Child in Charlotte, back in Charlotte.
Which is another favorite of ours.
Yes.
So we were a little bummed that the Living Kitchen was closed, not gonna lie.
Yes, it was a good alternative though. A little spicy. A little spicy.
That's a little spicy, but it was good.
Spicy.
So overall, I think we had a very successful road trip. And I think it's something we always look forward to, whether we're just going to Charlotte or Charlottesville or all the way to Florida.
That's right. It's fun to be with you. You know that?
Yeah, it's fun to be with you too.
And it's easier to step into these risky adventures, and I call them risky, knowing that we've done everything we can to make them as least risky as possible. But stepping out of the house is a little risky.
Yes.
It's easier to do that with somebody else. So whether or not they have gal or not, it's good to tackle this as a pair, as a team.
Absolutely. So I would say find your buddy and do some form of a little adventure in the coming weeks. And let us know what you do. We'd love to hear from you.
So thanks for checking out our road trip. We look forward to hearing about yours. Until next time.
Thank you for joining us today on In the Tall Grass. Visit us at 2alphagals.com. That's TWO alphagals.com. Or you can find us on Instagram and Facebook at 2alphagals. If you enjoyed listening, please leave a review and help us grow this community.
We're all faced with obstacles on our journey, whether it be food allergies or tick-borne diseases. You might outgrow the reactions, but you won't outgrow the person you become. Ticks suck, but life doesn't have to.